Yo, 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 what's up? Do you want to be able to be capturing images such as this, that, or this? Well, this video is all about how you can be able to capture long exposure landscape or seascape photography. Let's take into this because we're going to have a conversation. My name is Secunda P. Smith Chikomo, and this is Photography 5-Minute Mastery with me, your boy, Takunda Shepherd Chikomo. And without further ado, let's quickly jump into how you can be able to capture long exposure images. Number one, use a tripod and a shutter release. When you use your tripod, it means your camera is stabilized. So that means it does not shake, because motion blur, it only is good when it is coming from the environment and not from your camera. So you need to stabilize your camera with a tripod and make sure that it is standing still without any shaking or movement. Another way that you can improve this is with having a remote shutter release. That way you can trigger your camera without having to touch it, because one thing you should notice with long exposure photography is the slightest of touches can ruin your images. If you just move it before you even, as you shutter that or open the shutter release, that can also be able to affect how your image is. Sometimes you can use a timer, set your timer to 3 seconds, release, and then remove yourself from the camera. That way, when it shutters, it's automatically triggered without you moving your hand and shaking the camera. So you need to use a tripod and a shutter release. Number two, use the lowest ISO possible and a small aperture. The lowest ISO possible because you need to let in as little light as possible. Letting in as little light as possible means that your image is not noisy and overexposed. And if you're also closing down to an aperture such as f11, this also means that your camera is also letting in as little light as possible, whilst also keeping a large number of the image or subject in focus. So use as little ISO as possible and as smaller an aperture as possible, f11, f16, f22, as smaller as you can. Number three, you should shoot between golden hour and blue hour, sometimes even shoot at night. Why are we advocating for you to shoot at golden or blue hour? It's because the light is much softer and it also allows for longer exposures. Soft light is also making for good shadows, which are softer. It's also making a good appeal on the eye, and it makes for really, really nice images. Also, because the light is quite little, this also compensates when you're making the shutter release open for a longer time, or because when you're shooting, that means less light is coming through. Hence, a longer shutter release is as good when you're doing this. Number four, you can use an ND filter. Neutral density filters are quite ideal and helpful for when you're shooting because they cut the light for when you're shooting. For example, it's midday, you come up at a waterfall, you want to capture the motion within this, but because you're capturing with a camera, this does not come out well because you want a long exposure shot. It's overexposed. An ND filter can be in 2 stops, 5 stops, 10 stops, or even higher. It helps cut the light by making the front of the lens darker, by reducing the light that hits the sensor, making it darker, hence allowing you to shoot long exposure photos for when it is during the day and it is bright outside. It compensates for that. Number five, you can enable long exposure noise reduction. Disclaimer: noise exposure noise reduction sometimes may not be as good to others, sometimes may not be as bad to others. So for this, I want to say you can leave it up to your discretion. Some people might like it, some people might not like it. Personally, I do not mind because I found it to have made quite some nice images, because sometimes I end up doing noise reduction in post-production anyways. So sometimes I allow it to be on, and in other instances, I can also keep it off and make sure that I have full control as to how my image is exposed. If you've stuck around up until this, I really want to thank you, because make sure that you like, share, and subscribe, and let them know that there is a P-Smooth out there giving tips and tricks on how you can improve yourself as a photographer. And like you always know, I do not leave you alone. I always give you a bonus tip. And for our bonus tip, I want to say you should compose with leading lines, because our eyes follow a certain path when we look at an image. Try and make sure that when you compose your image, there is probably an object in front or behind the subject which creates a certain direction, leads the eye towards the image. This makes for more appealing and easy to look at images for when you are shooting. Thank you so much for keeping up with me, and thank you so much for watching this. Until we meet again next time, ciao.